Hello and welcome to Mythical Meeples. Today I'll be reviewing Jafar from Disney Villainous. If you like my content, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. If you want to support me in other ways, you can also become a member of Mythical Meeples or support me on Patreon. There's links below, where you gain access to more content, sneak previews and behind the scenes, such as more Disney Villainous videos if that's what you're interested in. As I said, today I'll be reviewing Jafar from The Worst Takes It All. So Jafar is one of the more challenging villains in The Worst Takes It All. He starts the game with the Cave of Wonders locked, meaning he has access to only one location at which he can discard cards, and he can really struggle for power in the early game. If Jasmine gets played against Jafar early on, his game becomes a real uphill struggle, as his hand size gets reduced, so getting through his pack of cards becomes even more essential. If you get Jasmine played on you like first two turns, it can be almost impossible for you to win and to catch up with the other players. I personally really enjoy playing Jafar, but it can be very frustrating digging through your cards with a Scarab Pendant and Magic Lamp. However, hypnotising the heroes is a very fun and unique way of playing. So Jafar's early gameplay should be discarding cards as quickly as possible, playing a few cards to get them out of your deck, such as the Giant Hourglass and some allies, to get to the Scarab Pendant and the Magic Lamp. Later on, you need to then acquire as much power as possible, so you want to play things like a necessary sacrifice to discard previously played allies and items that are no longer of any use to you. Now I'm going to talk about my top 3 cards. So these are cards that don't necessarily directly cause you to win, so things like the Neverland map for Captain Hook, the Magic Lamp for Jafar. These are all essential for victory, but don't necessarily do anything else for you other than perhaps unlock specific locations. This said, there will be some overlap between my top 3 cards and those that do help you directly achieve your goal. So for instance, the Scarab Pendant. So this card is essential for unlocking the Cave of Wonders, as I previously mentioned, and thus being able to play the Magic Lamp. However, it's not for this reason that I've picked this card. This card increases your hand size to 5 cards, or 4 if Jasmine's in play, which is significant for any villain as it gives you more options on your turn and allows you to sift through your deck faster, finding the cards you want. And as I mentioned, it's a good counter to Jasmine, who reduces your hand size by 1. Having a bigger hand size gives you more options on your turn, especially if you're at the Oasis, which lets you play 2 cards, but it also means you can discard cards faster. So if you're at the Streets of Agrabah or the Cave of Wonders, you could potentially discard 4 or 5 cards instead of just 2 or 3 cards from your hand. Pretty much every single villain in the game needs to discard cards to find those that help them win, and the fact that you can do it so much faster makes it so much easier. My second card in the top 3 is again an essential card for victory. It's Hypnotise, which you need to hypnotise the genie. However, hypnotising other heroes is also important, especially Aladdin, Abu and the Carpet, who can also prevent victory. In my opinion, Hypnotise is a far better way for Jafar to defeat heroes than using allies, because they can also be used to counter other heroes played against you. Often when I play Jafar, I'll end up with more heroes as allies than actual allies. So having heroes such as Aladdin and Abu hypnotised means they can't be played against you, which means they then can't steal things like the Magic Lamp off you to prevent you from winning. Having the Carpet hypnotised means you don't have to defeat the Carpet again, which means you can just focus on the heroes that you need to defeat. Crushing Blow will let your opponents take back Abu and the Carpet, so you can always stick scimitars on them to stop them being played again. The third card in my top 3 is the Giant Hourglass. So for me, this card is more of a defensive card and is great for defending locations in your realm. When activated, it reduces a hero's strength by 2 until the end of your turn. So it's a perfect counter to heroes like Carpet, Sultan and Abu, provided Wish hasn't been played on them, as you can vanquish or hypnotise them without using allies or power. It can mean as well that opponents won't play the hero to a location with a Giant Hourglass because they will become so much easier to defeat. If the Hourglass is played to the genie's location, it also makes him easier to hypnotise if you can activate it, as you require 2 less power to do so. Another use of the Giant Hourglass is a target for necessary sacrifice, allowing you to discard it to gain 3 power, which later on in the game you may find more useful than having a giant Hourglass. So those are my top 3 cards for Jafar. However, there are some special mentions I want to make. In fact, I have 3 special mentions. So the first one is Deception. So Deception allows you to reveal the top card of another player's fate deck if they have 2 or more items in play. So the reason this card didn't make it into my top 3, despite how good it is because against some villains, this condition card never comes into effect. Some heroes have very few items in their deck. So Isma, for instance, has only 1, so it will never be played against her. Scar has no items in his villain deck, but does have items in his fate deck. So you may end up playing this, or you may not. However, as I mentioned, the ability to play an additional fate card on someone is incredibly strong, especially if they're close to achieving victory, so it's extremely effective against villains with a multitude of items, such as Captain Hook and Ratigan, where you'll be able to play it whenever you need to. Another special mention I have to make is Rizul. So Rizul reduces the cost of allies played to his location, meaning your Palace Guards are free if you play them to his locations. They then become a great target for necessary sacrifice, or simply to get cards out of your hand. I usually play Rizul at Sultan's Palace, as you can't play a card here if the hero has been played to that location, as it covers up your player card action. Which also means you can't play a Snake Ally at that location to defeat the hero. So all the other locations, the Streets of Agrabah, the Oasis, and Cave of Wonders, you can play a Snake Ally to defeat the hero at that location if they have a strength of 4 or less. You can't do that at Sultan's Palace, so you kind of want to have your allies at Sultan's Palace because it makes you more flexible. This said, Rizul is not an essential play, and I will sometimes discard him, or I will hold back on playing him if I can't attach a scimitar to him quickly, because he becomes a good target for Crushing Blow because he's so expensive to play. So Rizul has a very long-term effect. The longer you can keep him in play, the better. The earlier you play him, the better as well, because it will save you power and let you gain more power from your necessary sacrifices. So there's a third card I haven't included in my top 3, which will probably surprise quite a few people, and that's Scrying. So this card is really useful for finding the Scarab Pendant and the Magic Lamp. There are 2 of them in your deck, and you'll want to play them as soon as you can to help you find the Scarab Pendant and the Magic Lamp. Once they're both played, however, so once you have the Magic Lamp and Scarab Pendant, I don't find Scrying useful. Your allies aren't that strong. Your items, depending on what you get, you might just get scimitars and have no allies to attach them to. So it's not always that useful, and I find it better to just discard and find more useful cards such as Snake Staff, Hypnotize, cards like that which you're going to use. You don't want to bypass your Snake Staff looking for an ally, or bypass Yargo looking for your Snake Staff, for instance. So that's my review for Jafar. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you find it useful. Maybe you've picked up some tips and tricks for your own version, for your own games that you'll put into play, or it will help you to counter Jafar in other ways. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to become a member of Mythical Meeples or follow me on Patreon. And don't forget to hit those like, comment and subscribes as well. So thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.